Today, the pervasive question and the pervasive problem and the pervasive emotional disturbance that I always get approached about and that I always get asked about and always questioned about is depression, disappointment, disillusionment, and for some people as they get older, bitterness. So I wanted to talk about that. How do we solve that? You know, people who get disillusioned, they give up, they go away, they don't do. You know, how do you solve that? You can't blame the person, because if you're going to blame the person, you're going to have to blame everybody, because at one time or another in our lives, everybody gets on the nerves. I mean, you think about it. Even our precious mother and our precious father can get on our nerves, right? And most of the times they don't, because we really love our parents, most of us. And there are other people, even our wives and husbands, they can really get on our nerves. Well, if we think about it, that everybody has gotten on our nerves and has irritated us at one time or another, that's a clear indication that the problem lies with us and not with the other. You see, in Buddhism, there are holy beings, there are angels, there are saints, there are patron saints. There are very enlightened beings that can help us, that can bless us. There are. But you see, just saying I accept those holy beings, just saying I trust and I believe, and then we kick over and say I'm saved, it really doesn't make sense. As we can see, religion is growing in the world. Religion is growing in the world, I mean, at least in numbers. But peace is not. Peace is not growing in the world. So if religion's growing in the world and peace is not growing in the world, there's something missing. So therefore, religions, and that includes some forms of Buddhism also, all religions, because religions are not spoken by Buddha or God. They're spoken by men, like me, like you, who have imperfections. So therefore, when people tell you to accept, and once you accept a doctrine or a God or a deity or a Buddha or whatever, and you're saved, fine. Then everybody sits there and says, well, let me wait to be saved. So while we're waiting to be saved, you know, our wife gets on our nerves. Our kids get on our nerves. We look at our kids, we wish we didn't have them. The kids look at us and wish they didn't have us. And we look at our husbands and our wives, and, you know, everybody looks at each other and go, what am I doing with myself? Why am I here? So while we're waiting for this jump start over, there's a whole corpus of things that we need to do that's missing in spiritual practice. And that is a systematic, slow explanation of why we get angry, what happens when we get angry, why we are disillusioned, why we get distraught, why we get bitter, why we get depressed, and we believe in Buddha, we believe in God, we've accepted. But why do these things still happen? Then we got to, keep our eyes closed to disasters in the world, kids being killed, tsunamis and all that, and all these whys just go on and on and on and on. Well, Buddhism at this moment doesn't deal with all those whys, because all those whys are answered by your own why. And that starts with one's anger, disillusionment, depression, unhappiness, etc., etc. Some people are so depressed recently. I was emailed that they're on heavy medication recently. Not email, SMS. Just 3 days ago, I got it from Europe. Some people and it was incredible because they got a Tsongkhapa box, and it was so timely because they confessed that they are extremely depressed and they've been in severe depression for years. And they have a house, they have a kid, they have, a good job, they have everything, but they're severely depressed and they don't know why. Now let me explain a little bit. When we are raised in a certain manner and we are used to a certain environment and we are used to a certain type of thinking, acting, moving, when we're used to that, when we come across situations and people that don't match that, then the projections appear. What is a projection? Projection comes in a word that something is projected on a screen. That's something projected on a screen, looks real, gives you emotions, has sound, moves, has a story, has a plot, has a beginning, middle, end, but there's nothing there. It's illusory. So like that, projections in Buddhism, because I realize some of these words are a little difficult for people because their English words are not really Buddhistic terms, so I'm going to have to make it Buddhist. So a projection is, we want people to think, act, talk, move, function the way we are used to it. We want people to act the way we want them to act. And when we want them to act the way we want, like when I was a kid, I was like that with my parents. Why aren't my kids like that with me? Then conflict, parents and kids come. Okay, when I was growing up, I saw my neighbors have a wonderful relationship. How come I can't have a wonderful relationship? Why is it that I go from one relationship to another relationship and another relationship, another, and it just drags me down, it takes me away, and it leaves me with nothing, and it keeps me completely away from who I am or what I'm supposed to do. And so what happens is projections happen, projections appear. You know why? There's a conflict of how to do things, conflict of view. So someone from America can come here and I've heard it. Someone from here can go to America and have all these views, like that's not good, this is good, that's good, this is good, it's not good. But you see, what's good and not good comes from your own upbringing, your own environment, and in everybody's case, one's karma. Okay, so when we want people to be this way and this way and this way and that way and this way and that way, projections arise. When projections arise, if we're powerful or we're convincing or we're beautiful or we're rich or we have a poor me look, whatever it takes to make the other person do what we want, we can convince a few people around us to do what we want. And so then we hide ourselves in that environment. Oh, I'm happy at home. I'm happy to be with my kids. I'm happy to be with my friend. I'm happy to be with my partner. I'm not happy to be anywhere else. It's not that you're not happy to be anywhere else. You can't get other people to do what you want. Because you can't get other people to do what you want, you're unhappy everywhere you go. And everywhere you go, criticism arises. Anger arises. And when criticism and anger arises more and more and more, you know what happens? Please listen carefully. The critical mind and the angry mind stays. And then it builds and it takes a foothold. And then when it takes a foothold, that's how you act all the time. You see, it doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come in one instant. It comes over a period. It creeps up on you. I mean, if you think about it, were you always angersome when you were younger? No, you were a happy-go-lucky little kid. Most of you were cute. Now, so that's our projection. Our projection is, well, when you think this way and that way, and then you get stuck on that thought, then you get stuck on being angry. You get stuck on the poor me mode. You get stuck on expectations. They should perform this way. They should talk this way. They should act this way. They should be this way. And when they're not, you know what happens? It's okay for 1 year and 2 year and 3 year and 4 year. After about 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you become very, you can't take it. You become impatient. You become impatient. You go, no, I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to hang out with them. I'm not going to socialize with them. I'm not going out. And you know what? You don't even go to parties anymore. You don't even show up. And even when you meet people, you're just rude outright. Why? Not because you're an evil person, but because you've already molded yourself according to your expectation of how people should be. You have individualized their behavior according to them. When you individualize a person's behavior according to just that person, you know what happens? For those who are prone to depression, they get more depressed. Like, I don't want a relationship. It's going to end up like that. I don't want a friend. They're going to cheat me. I don't want to go to that Dharma center. Definitely, it's going to be like that, like that, like that. I don't want to go to my family gathering anymore. My aunties and all that, they're going to ask me if I'm married. Then for every person, whatever you have a hang-up on, that hang-up becomes stronger. Okay, so if you're afraid of looking bad, You'll be worried. If you're an angry person, you become more angry. If you're naturally a person that is an achiever, you'll become bitter. You know why? Because if you're an achiever, a lot of people can't do what you can do. You become anti-social. And then for some people, it's depression. You go into very deep depression. You avoid. Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be involved in this. I don't want to go here. I don't want to meet them. I don't want to start this. I don't want to even try this. Because I was hurt, because I was disappointed, because my husband died, my wife died, my kid ran away, my auntie was a monster. I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And then it builds. You know what happens when it builds? You individualize it. When you individualize that problem, that's where your problem lies. That's what Buddha tells us. So you see, whether you believe in Buddha or God or not is not a real issue, because God and Buddha can't take that away from you. Knowledge can. And that's what Buddha's teaching is about, is to give you knowledge. So when you listen to knowledge, whether you're a Buddhist or not, everybody wants happiness. So if you listen to Buddha's teachings and apply, you can gain happiness whether you're a Buddhist or not. Because Buddha never made it a criteria. If you're not Buddhist, you can't listen to my teachings, and I don't want you to be happy. No metta to you. I don't think so. Buddha's not like that. Now, so you become more depressed, more angry, more disappointed, more disillusioned, more antisocial. Do you know why? Because you have individualized the problem. Does that mean that what you perceive and what you see is not there, that that person isn't like that? No, they are like that. They are like that. They are lazy. They are sneaky. They didn't do their job well. They do make excuses. They did lie. They did trick you. They didn't go all the way. You did see that. But you see, seeing that and how you react is the key. Seeing that and how you react is key. Why? Then Dharma teachers, gurus, can never scold their students, can never criticize their students, because all they see is everybody's wonderful and fabulous. Honey, I'm going to have to take a big shawl and wrap it on my head and not hear or see anything to believe that one. I'll let some of you let that sink in because you don't get it, but never mind. Then Dharma teachers can never criticize or encourage or say anything. If Dharma teachers cannot perceive, understand the level of a student, therefore cannot tell them like that, like that, like that, like that, how does the student become enlightened? How? Your perception is, if a teacher scolds you, he shouldn't be like that. He should be calm and nice. Excuse me, that's your perception. But your perception is not necessarily appropriate and applicable to everybody. Okay? So therefore, what happens is when you don't individualize something, you go back and think and you meditate on this point. And I'm serious. You go back and think and meditate on this point. If you meditate on it, you will feel more release as the days go by. Do you know why? Because I have gotten so many disappointments in my life since I was, a kid. So many. People ask me, Rinpoche, why do you still work for others? Why do you not get angry? Why do you not get people back? Why are you not ugly and vengeful? Why? Oh, it must be because you're a Rinpoche, you're high incarnation. I said, no, that's not why. It's not why. It's because I thought and contemplate and meditated on what I'm sharing with you right now. Because I was very upset in the monastery when I was a secretary there. I wanted to bring a teacher from North India to teach English. That was about 10 years back, okay? 12 years back. I was hired as in charge of the school in Ganden Shatse Monastery. And you know what I wanted to do? I had this kind of forevision that I want to bring Buddhism to the world. And the only way to do that is by Dharma teachers who, along with their studies, can speak English. Chinese. But I don't speak Chinese. So I said that I want to bring Tibetan laymen, not women, without families that are single from North India, to the monastery. And the monastery should keep a room for them and give them a salary and find sponsors to teach English to the monks. You know why? Because by the time they become a geshe, they speak English, they can spread Dharma to the world. Do you know the old monks? The abbot didn't say much at that time. The old monks, the other monks, the monks that's never been out of the monastery in their whole life, they were sitting there. They're very nice. They said, no, We can't bring English here. English will be the medium for the monks to go down. I said, what? They said, yeah. They said, because they'll travel out, they'll start talking, they'll meet people, they'll meet ladies, and they can disrobe. And I'm like, but they would disrobe anyway, some of them. I said, you're stopping knowledge. I said, we should bring them down and teach. And then I got a little frustrated. I respectfully told all the monks, there's a meeting of 30 of us, 40 of us. I said to them, look, I'll go to Dharamsala, find the lay persons. I'll make sure they don't have families because we don't want them with wives and kids living in the monastery. It doesn't look good. I understand. That's why I say lay Tibetan men. So they said no. It would open the doors for black knowledge to come in. It would open the doors for people to travel abroad and not come back. And on and on. They had all kinds of protective issues. And I understood where they're coming from. Because when a monk is young, until they reach a certain age or a certain meditation, they're not stable. They can disrobe. When they're in an environment that's nurturing, they usually don't. So once they reach a certain age, they're quite okay. They can go any place, hang out with anyone, freaks or whatever, they will never disrobe. Because their monkhood comes from within, not from the monastery anymore. So that's what the monastery was afraid of. And I'm like, oh my God. And they had me writing 300 letters a month to the sponsors and to different people who donated and helped. I got this bump on my finger. I'm not kidding. Look, see that bump? That's from writing. I mean, there's no computers, no typewriter, nothing. Even the typewriter we had doesn't work. Even when it worked, there was no ribbon. Even when there's ribbon, I had to go to the village to find the ribbon. It doesn't work, and it dried up by the time we came back. There's no way to win. All right, and then when the ribbon worked, the typewriter worked, when I made a mistake, there's no whiteout. I'm like, oh no. So I did everything by hand. I wrote 300, sometimes 400 letters per month, every month, and that went on for years. And the letters weren't short little letters. Some letters were 12 pages because I need to explain what's happening to this department, to that department. And I'm like, they said, oh, your English is so good. We're so lucky to have you, and we're so happy you're helping, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but we can get other people even better than me. We got to train them up. They didn't want it. So I quit. I put in my resignation, and I said, well, I'm not going to write 300 letters, do my studies, go to Malaysia to teach, and teach English to the monastery. I've got to do, it can't fit in my schedule. I said, I'd love to, but it doesn't fit in my schedule. So I had to resign from the school, giving teachings and giving talks and all that. And I just stuck to writing letters, stuck to my studies, stuck to serving my teacher. And then I got sent to Malaysia, of course. Stationed here. Yeah, I was literally sent to Malaysia. I wasn't sent away because I was making a ruckus there. Yeah, I was sent there. And then when I came to Malaysia, I went, okay, I'll go back and teach in the school. Too late. It was too late. My point, I understand what the monks are saying now, but I didn't fully accept it that time. I did not. That's my view. Okay, that's my view.